Dark Horse. And I put some 16-inch ape hangers. These are Dean Speed low balls, 1 1/4. So that's what we're gonna do today. Let me get set up and we'll get started. The first thing we're gonna do is take a 5mm socket up to these here. It's an Allen, and we're gonna remove these 2 bolts. So you got 6mm bolts here and here. So we're going to loosen those up. So I'm going to just hang those gingerly for now. We got the other side. We're getting ready to take this off, and I got it. This thing is actually a lot heavier than it looks. So, Ray, you want to grab it with me? Just hold it up. I'm going to take this bolt out. And we'll... You got it? Back. And then forward here.
I got the front part. If you want to get the back part.
I got the front. Let it dry. Okay, so what I did is I took the front bolts on the clamp and I loosened them way up, and then once you do that, you should be able to move the bars forward, and then pull this back part of the nacelle out. So now we got that out. All right, so now I'm going to take the brake side. I'm going to slide it off a little bit so I can get to the back of this little clamshell here. This is a 5mm Allen. Just move that over a little bit. And tighten it down just a little bit so it's not gonna be all slidey. So it's gonna give me access to these bolts here, and then we'll start taking this clamshell off and all the controls and the throttle. I believe these are a T25. On the back here. There's 1. 2. So once we do that, this shell just comes open. And we've got 2 more T25s back here. So now I'm going to take this lever also, undo it back here with the 5mm, and just rotate this down a little bit so I can get to the bolt. You'll see there's a screw here and then behind that lever, so we're going to rotate that out of the way a little bit. Maybe. All right. Pull this clamshell off, and then again 2 more T25s right here, and 1 underneath. And then we're going to use a pick tool. This is what I've been using for these wires. These white wires here, this one is, I believe, heated grips, so we're not going to need that one, but it's nice to know where it's at. And then try to get in here. So let's pull it out gently. Same on this side, just find that hole, put the pick tool in there, and then just wiggle it out. Alright, this I've heard can be a pain in the ass to get off, so I'll get that off. Let you know how I did it. I probably, let me see, what I'm gonna do, I'll just let you know what I'm gonna do, and I'll do it off camera so you guys don't hear cussing. I'm just gonna keep cranking on this thing like an ape, pulling it off this way, and then we'll have this grip off. That grip's off. Then the next thing we're gonna do, try to secure these and start looking at pulling the bars off. All right, so what I did here, we tried to use a strap wrench to get it off, which might work for some. I'm not sure how these were put on there, but they were put on there with too much love. I'll just put it that way. So I got some PB Blaster, sprayed it in there as much as I could, and then just decided to take a 1-inch bar, or a 1-inch box wrench, put it on the bars, and coax it off with a hammer and a friend. So here we go. There we go. Hopefully I saved the grip and didn't destroy it, because these are not cheap. Is that enough?
Yep.
You know when you got
Yep,
it?
got it out.
Okay.
And this bar is actually just gonna...
Alright. I'm going to take this. You don't want to put a lot of strain on this brake line, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to attach it to one of these bolts that I've already left in. What I'm going to do right now is this connector is the wiring, the internal wiring for the bike. So I'm going to see if I can do it without a pick. I'm just going to push down on here and then pull out. I'm not real good at pulling out because I have 3 kids. It's not one of my strong suits, apparently. There we go. Alright. So now that I got that out, I'm going to pull the rest of the bars off, and then we'll join you over on the bench with the bars off of here. We're going to remove all the internal wiring and get the new internal wiring and the new bars. So, join you back in a second. Okay, so now we're going to take the internal wiring out of the handlebars that were on the bike. So this is the clutch side. So I'm going to start feeding these connectors through and pulling on this side of the wiring. So let me do that. Get that out. It's not pretty easy. These bars have nice gentle bends in them, so it's going to be a lot easier than getting the new wiring in the bars I bought. So this is your throttle, and what we need to do is pull this out a little bit until we can see the connector, and then you'll see the connector right here. And then once you see it in there, you can pull it out a little bit, and then just pull it out enough to get a pick tool in there and remove that. Alright, so here's where we've got the connector for this is right here. So I'm going to take a pick tool and try to separate its connection and pull that free. There you go. So that's out. And then we gently and gingerly, and with much love, pull these through here. There we go. So there's enough wiring here for the 16-inch apes, which is great. All we need to do is cut this zip tie and then extend it out. So, all right, let me get the other bars, right back. Now we're gonna just take and get a wire, and this is, I'm not sure what gauge this is.
Probably 10 gauge.
Maybe 10 gauge, we'll go with that. And I'm gonna push it into this side down here. You might want to bend it first, just to kind of make that first bend. Once we get past there, you can feed it down, and it's probably going to get stuck right about here, which is where we got the little claws of life, and we're gonna move that in here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this in there, get it to about here, and see if I can grab that wire out. Alright, so I got a handle on it now, and I'm gonna push it here while I'm pulling on this side. And now I can see it coming through. There we go. So I'm gonna feed enough through here that then I want to take, this is the clutch side. So now I'm going to try to bend this, and I'll tape it up and make it as sleek as possible, but also as bendy as possible, because we want to take then and pull it back through, up through this bend. So, alright, so we'll do that, and I'll come back to you when I got it taped up. What I've done is I've taped it up here. The joint that this wire actually loops around, and I'm looping around the cable that we're trying to plug in, so it gives a nice, good anchor, and I can pull it. The two connectors that we had, one of them was for the heated grips, the other one was for the other stuff. Instead of putting them together, I bent one of them this way and one of them that way, because what I want to do is want to make it as narrow as possible, and if they're right next to each other, it's not going to work that good. So now we just start pulling through here, and this might take a little teamwork here. You want to try to feed while I'm pulling? So once we get around, I think the first bend will be in decent shape. I managed to pull that one through all the way. It came out the other side. These the bars that have the hard bends on them like this, they look really cool, but they're harder to get around. You'll notice when we took it out, it was easy to just pull and it just gently came out, but these hard corners are kind of a pain to get around at times. So I'm going to unwrap this one from the tape, and we'll wrap this one up. This one's going to be a little bit trickier because we've got more connectors. So the more connectors, it's kind of like more money, more problems. But there's a little clip that we took off with a trim tool that you just pop that out. What that clip does is it holds a little clip to the nacelle for the clutch cable. So we want to get that out of the way. Once we get that out of the way, we're going to move it aside and get the bars put on. So I'm going to feed, now that we've got it loose, I'm going to feed the clutch cable out of the nacelle and get it out of the way. Because I don't want this brake line hanging, we're going to secure this up here because the master cylinder's there. There's two things you got to do. There's a clip down here that needs to be removed with a little button head Allen. I don't know if you can see it. Where my fingers at. To remove that, that's holding a clamp that holds onto the brake line. And then there's a clip right here that I just freed the brake line from that. So it kind of runs up like that, and we should be good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start working on this side, get these controls back on, and we'll start with the throttle. Alright, so we're going to get the throttle on now. Focus there, maybe. Anyway, we're going to get the throttle on. So this is the piece we took out of the other bar. Slides right in here to the end. What we'll have to do is connect it to here, but it needs to be in that bar, okay? So what I'm going to end up doing is pushing this in connector first, and then I'm going to take my pick tool and I'm going to grab the wires and pull them through, and then connect it out of here, and then just kind of wiggle it and move it back in. So I got it connected. I'm going to pull it back through. Just that whole thing is in there, and then we'll pull it, push it back in. Actually, what we'll end up doing, I'm going to connect the other wires that go here, and I'll end up pulling some of the slack that I have right here out to get it all plugged in. Right now it's pushed up as far as I can, so I have a lot of slack up at the top, but like I said, we'll take that out, and at that point this will sit in where it needs to, and these wires will be back there. So we've got the throttle in, and it's underneath this cube over here, and we're gonna tighten that down with our T25, I believe it is. So now we should have that totally working. All right, so now we're gonna get this side over. It fits a whole lot better when you do it the right way. I'll just tell you that right now. And then you want to tuck your wires in to the back here, and then tuck the wire back in it. This screw, of course, is right behind where we put the brake handle. Look at this one for now. I apologize for the little crumb munchers in the background having a little ride on their crap, but alright. So that side looks pretty good. This is a little trick that I do with my bikes when I was riding BMX all the time. We use hairspray to get the grips to stay on. It works great for rubber grips. These are plastic in here, so I'm going to see. I've done it on some bikes, some motorcycles. I'm going to try it on this one. So what I'm going to do is spray hairspray in here. It should lube it up. Should be able to slide it right on, and then the thing is the hairspray as it dries should be nice and gluey. If this doesn't work, no big deal. I just undo it and I do the conventional way, but this is what I'm going to try for now. So, and we're using Tresemme if anybody cares. Thanks. So I want to try to work fast now because there's a notch in this switch cube that has to line up with the hole in the bars and also the grip. So I want to try to get everything lined up as it should be. And I don't think these don't need to be torqued down, so just like tighten them down to where it's, you know, it's good. Because you're going into plastic, so I'm a little worried that you might just crank right through it. All right. Just us cussing and stuff?
Just us cussing.
All right, so you want to take a pick tool and get it under this little U-clamp and then pull that baby out. Maybe. Which way does it come?
This clutch cable some slack.
Yeah, it's gonna calm that flange. But yeah, you're right, just wiggle it out. All right, now's the The nerve-wracking part, huh? We gotta take part of the frame out.
Next, we'll be removing the P-clip. Remaining P-clip. Yeah, man. So we've got the clutch cable loose down low. We're dragging her up.
Let's see what you can see. All right, so we've got 2 bolts here towards the top of the frame. See if you can see it. So bolt here, we're gonna loosen up, not take them out, just loosen them up. And then down here, there's another bolt we're gonna loosen up, and a 17mm nut on the back of that. And then there's 2 down here towards the bottom that we're gonna loosen up as well. So I'm gonna try to do this without dropping the bike on myself. All right, so we're moving to GoPro because my my DSLR batteries are all bad. So I've loosened this one already up about a turn and a half, and this one now I'm just kind of loosening it up a little bit. Again, we're not taking these out, we're just loosening them up. And this is a 17, right? Is that what we said it was? So this one we're gonna not remove, but get it very loose, but we're not gonna take that nut off. What we want to worry about is we don't want to loosen this frame up too much. Yeah, it's doing something.
Photo op. Busted loose. The devil child roll. Not quite full extraction on this one.
Alright, so now we got a little wiggly wiggly. And now we want to try to see if we can feed this python out of here. All right, clutch cable is installed at the bottom. All right, so this is the bump stop or whatever for the kickstand. I put that on. It kind of goes over the clutch cable. I'm going to finish putting the rest of these bolts in down here. So we're torquing the front 2 bolts on the bars to 18 foot-pounds. Alright, now the back, I want to do to 18. Alright, there's a little cutout for the brake line in the back, just an FYI. Kind of a cool little feature. And these, I'll get the torque specs for those. They're not as important as my freaking handlebars falling off, so I'll get those later and I can do those off screen. So I'll put all the torque specs in the video description, as well as a link to Dean Speed. And also, if you do buy Dean Speed parts, use coupon code MESSYGARAGE and get a discount. Alright, I'm going to torque these down. I think that's the end of the install. I'll put some pictures of before and after, and that's it. Thanks for watching. Hope it helped. Bye. You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go. Click on some other videos, but